Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Melissa and I'm always here on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday, and I upload every other Sunday and I talk about true crime. Today is Friday, so that means I will be talking about a new missing child's case. This case to me is, every single missing case is hard for me, but this one I really wanted to talk about because this one did not get a lot of media attention, because at the same time that this happened, there was Elizabeth Smart had been kidnapped as well, so her case was getting a little bit more of attention than this case that I will be talking about today. So this case is one I've been waiting to talk about, just to get this case out there. So yeah, before I start, I like to go ahead and start with the poem of the day. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you can be notified every time I upload. When you're ignored by a person whose attention means most to you, the reaction in your brain will be similar to physical pain. So that is the case. That is the poem of the day. So today we're going to be talking about Alexis Patterson. She went missing in 2002, and like I said in the beginning of the video, Elizabeth Marr had gone missing as well. The same, like, this really happened almost at the same time. I don't know if it's like the same, like they weren't that far apart, but Elizabeth Marr's attention did get more media coverage. And a lot of people are saying was because Elizabeth was white and Alexa is an African American, and that really kind of does hurt me, because I think every child's missing case needs the same attention. And I wanted to this is one of these cases that when I was decided to do Friday and talk about missing children, this is one of these cases that I really wanted to talk about, and I'm so excited. So yeah, let's go ahead and start with the video. In the morning of May 3rd, 2002, Alexis Patterson's stepfather walked her to the corner and a crossing guard guided the 7-year-old across the street toward Hit Mountain Community School in Milwaukee. At the end of the day, she did not come home. A month later, and more than 1,000 miles away, Elizabeth Marr, 14, went to sleep in her bedroom in Salt Lake City. By the next morning, she was gone. Within hours, Elizabeth's disappearance was featured on NSS Larry King Live, Fox News, On the Record with Greg Van Studeren. It took 8 days for Alexis' story to attract attention outside Milwaukee, with the segment on America's Most Wanted. The next national story on her case aired weeks later. By the time Elizabeth had gone 2 weeks, USA Today had published 3 stories about her disappearance. There were none of the focus on Alexis. The law enforcement response also differed. The day after Elizabeth disappeared, police called in the FBI and offered a $250,000 reward. In Milwaukee, the FBI didn't join Alexis' case until 3 days after she vanished. 19 days after she was last seen, the sheriff's office offered $10,000 reward. Elizabeth is white. She was found 9 months after her abduction. Alexis is black and is still missing. 20 years ago, as police searched for the 2 girls, some advocates and experts argued that race was a key factor in how authorities and reporters handled their case. It marked the first time the national media paid serious attention to such disparities. 2 years later, black journalist Gunfield gave the opponent name Missing White Woman Syndrome. She coined the term after the disappearance of Alexis Patterson, a pregnant California woman whose husband was later convicted of killing her and played out again in 2005. When Natalie Holloway vanished in a class trip to Yuba, don't even know how to say it. Over the past 9 months, the case of Gabby Petito, who disappeared on the road trip with her fiance and was later found dead, has once again brought the issue to the front of the public consequences. The fact that missing black people command less media attention than whites has been well documented by academy researchers. Their studies have repeatedly found that cases of missing black people, children, adults alike, are covered less often than whites, and their stories don't travel as widely through the nation's newsroom. There's a little in particular evidence that explains why. A leading theory falls the lack of racial diversity in newsroom and media ownership. Another blames the socioeconomic status of black victims. Because missing black children often come from a high crime, low income neighbors, the reasons goes their family have less influence with the law and enforcement and fewer financial resources to devote to the public campaignings. The way police categorize a disappearance also plays an important role. Cases of suspect abduction, like Elizabeth Gunner, is more attention from cops and reporters than children considered runaways by police as Alexis' intention was. In new research yet to be published, Surrey and University professor Carla Lieber found that law enforcement officers are the most poignant source in 80% of news stories about missing children. My own thought is that the police contribute to the problem by setting the news agent through what cases they share with the media, she said in an email. Smart now, an advocate for missing children, acknowledged after Petito's disappearing how problematic is that the case of missing white people get more attention than missing people of color. Smart, who was unavailable for an interview with the USA Today while taking time with her family, made that comment last year on Facebook Live, Serious Red Talk. When I think of all these other victims, I feel like they still deserve just every bit as much to be found. When I think of all these other victims, I feel like they still deserve every bit as much to be found, she said. I don't think there's anyone who is any less worthy than anybody else, myself included, to come home. In this coming months, USA Today network reports will embark on a national project to complain, date, and multiple public records that expose why these parties and police response and news coverage of missing children occur and how they can be addressed. In addition to race, we will examine other factors that may explain the discrepancy, including families' incomes, whether they live in urban or rural areas, and whether they had past contact with police. We need your help. If you know of any missing children of color in your community or have experienced these deputies fish hand as a parent, friend, or law enforcement officer, we want to hear from you. Based on your tips on your own research, reporters around the country will tell the story of missing children who have yet to be found, children like Alexis Patterson. The distance from High Mountain Elementary to the Patterson front door was just 242 steps. Alexa always got home from school around 2:50. When she hadn't arrived by 2:55 on that Friday on May 2002, her mother Annie Patterson began to worry. At 3, Patterson ran into the school in panic. That's when I found out that my baby never made it. Patterson told the USA Today she never made it to school. None of the teachers had seen Alexis that day, but one had notified her parents of her absence, even though that straight A student prided to herself on perfect attendance. Patterson checked with her grandmother, who lived nearly, but she hasn't seen the girl either. So Patterson called the police. Within days, a Milwaukee police department set up a mobile command post, a trial parked with communications equipment as parked near Alexis' home, according to news coverage at the time. 3 days later, Montclair Police Chief Arthur Jones told reporters he believed Alexa had run away. That theory stems from an argument that she had with her mother the morning she disappeared. The previous day, Patterson had taken Alexa to the store where she picked out some cupcakes to share with her classmate. In the morning, Patterson realized Alexa hadn't finished her homework, so she wouldn't later bring the treats. Despite investigators believed that Alexa was so angry she skipped school, McCullough police acted with extreme urgency, said Chief Jeffrey Norman, who was a detective back then. There was a frenzied approach of there's someone missing in our community, a young one, and we're going to put in all the effort. The work holds no stops. He said in an interview last week, I know that the department took it very seriously. We all paid attention. We all expect to have some type of role. If Alexa went missing today, Norman said police would issue an Amber Alert because of her age. The alerts, which are dismissed to the public and the press via cell phones, billboards, news organizations, and social media, including children's photos, description, information, and about when and where they were last seen. A federal law designed to help state implement Amber Alerts nationwide was passed in 2003, the year after Alexa and Elizabeth vanished, and all 50 states have set them up by 2005. As of the end of last year, more than 1,000 missing children have been recovered as a result of the alerts. In 2002, Wisconsin had not yet adopted Amber Alerts, although it was then called a Racial Alert. Utah had already set it up its system. Another key difference between Alexis' case and Elizabeth, as a result, information about Elizabeth's abduction was dismayed widely within hours. The Desert News ran a story the following day. In Macaulay, the first story about Alexa was published in Macaulay Journal Sentinel on Sunday, 2 days after she disappeared. In any missing children case, it's standard procedure for police to start with those close to the child, including the parents. Both Alexis' parents and Elizabeth were questioned by law enforcement in the early days of their daughter's disappearance. I know that can be a little disheartening or unnerving, said Norma, the Kramer College chief. We have seen, unfortunately, sometimes those who are entrusted with the welfare of their own child have broken that trust. Being an investigator is being ejected to look at all angles. Investigation also used polygraph tests in both cases. Although the results are generally not admissible in court, in either state, some members of law enforcement then now consider polygraphs useful tools in solving crimes. News report from the Times say several of Elizabeth's relatives took a polygraph, but there were no mention of the results. In Milwaukee, law enforcement source leaked information to the media saying Alexis' mother had passed a polygraph, but her stepfather, Lee Braun Dorns, had failed. He angrily denied the report. If I would not have passed, then I wouldn't be standing here, he told local reporter at the time. Norma would have not say whether the early news report was accurate. 4 months after Alexis disappeared, Patterson almost never left the house. She couldn't sleep. A song by a black gospel singer, Yolanda Adams, played and on repeat. There's no pain Jesus can feel, nor hurt he cannot heal. For all the things works according to his perfect will. No matter what you're doing through, don't remember God is using you. For the battle is not yours, it's the Lord's. Friends and relatives stayed around the clock to help Patterson care for her infant daughter, born 6 months before Alexis vanished. In these days and weeks that follow, hundreds of tips roll in. Police traveled to Chicago, Louisiana, Texas, Atlanta, in hopes that one of them would pan out, but none did. Patterson spent the next few years angry. She and Burgley split up. Nearly every conversation she had with police about Alexis' case ended in shouting match. Everything changed when a reporter knocked on her door in 2016. By then, 14 years has passed. The reporter showed Patterson a photo of a woman named Lisa who lived in Bryan, Ohio, nearly 300 miles away from McKinley. They resembled to an age process photo of Alexis posed by National Center for Missing and Exploring Children was uncanny. I know that's my child, Patterson told USA Today in April. I'm not afraid of nothing, and now that I know my baby's safe, I know my baby's alive. Police records say otherwise. They show an officer in Ohio stabbed Lisa, checked in front of witness, then sent the sample to medical police via FedEx. From there, a scientist in Wisconsin State Crime Lab sequences and compared to Alexis' DNA profile. McClary police told Patterson it did not match, but she does not believe them. Patterson believes having strangers collect the samples in his ship is left open in the possibility that someone could have tampered with it. She can understand why McClary police did not travel to Ohio to collect Lisa's DNA. Patterson said as much when she spoke with new cold case detective recently. Only the second or third conversation that has had with him since he took over the case more than a year ago. His response, according to recordings Patterson made a conversation, was to accuse her again of being involved in Alexis' disappearance. If I went to Ohio and sobbed Lisa's mouth myself, if I had to do that, if I bring it back here and it's not a match, will you tell me what really happened? He asked Patterson, recalling the phone call she took her head. I poured out my heart to this man, and that's what he says. She said, I told him everything. I told him the truth. He said that. Norma, the police chief, acknowledged that probably it wasn't the best way to gain Patterson's trust. I always hope that we as a department be a professional and honest and for right as possible, he said. But we have a lot to work to do. When Patterson tried to get the FBI involved and verify the identity of the Ohio woman, she received a similar response. The agent told Patterson she had failed her first polygraph and manipulated that they wouldn't help unless she took another one. According to the recording Patterson made off that phone call. If Patterson passed with flying colors, then nobody has a second thought about doing whatever that we need to do. The agent told her, it's a win-win for you, because if you pass it, then you can tell anybody you want, look, I passed the polygraph. If you don't, you don't have to tell anybody. There's no court case that you be wrapped up in. The agent added to that supervisors at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children would confirm a polygraph test is necessary. They would tell you in today's environment, she said, that this was one of the things that are automatically done polygraph. This isn't true. The Center Long-Term Missing Guide for Law Enforcement discussed review past polygraph results, but not admits a new test. Patterson said she wouldn't take a second test unless the FBI showed her the report of her first one, and they refused. I feel like it's because of me being African American, Patterson said. I didn't finish high school. I'm from the hood. They probably did my background. You know, my mom was on a drug. My daddy wasn't around. They wouldn't have never treated me this way if I was white. An FBI spokesman declined to comment, but Norma confirmed that police still have not ruled on the possibility that Alexis' mother and stepfather may have something to do with her disappearance. To my understanding, there has not been any conclusion evidence clearing anyone in this particular situation, Norma said. We're being as professional and responsible as possible until told otherwise. We have to keep all those possibilities open. Some investigators have continued to focus on Alexis' family because they did not trust her stepfather, who had driven the getaway car after a 1994 bank robbery in which a suburban police officer was killed, according to retired McLaren Police Department Steve Spingola, who was in charge of Alexis' case in the beginning. Barges received immunity to testify against the suspect shooter. Barges, who denied having anything to do with Alexis' disappearance, died of problem drugs overdose in 2021. If he was involved, Patterson said he never told her. Every year since 2012, longtime Milwaukee Major Tom Braid has recognized May 3rd as Alexis Patterson Forgive Me Not Day. Before he left office to become the USA ambassador to Louisville late last year, Bernard signed the proclamation for 2022. Each certificate was probably displayed alongside a poster sized photos of Alexa at an event Sundays in making it the 20th anniversary of her disappearance. About 100 people attended the gathering, which Patterson called and are working to join in prayer, property, music, a bouquet prayer by Patterson and her family. On the stage, draped lavender and purple, Alexa's favorite color, teachers shared their memories of the girl who has preschool called her drawings, homework, and learned to read before she started first grade. She always had a beautiful smile for everyone. She's former Head Start teacher, Benedict Graves. Everybody always wanted to sit next to her. In addition to celebrating those who have stood by her for 2 decades, Patterson also spoke her truth, loudly and sometimes through tears. Alexis is alive, she said. I ain't giving up.
The state crime lab called and said that we have a positive match of the DNA. The DNA extracted from under the fingernails of Mindy matched an unsolved.
Elizabeth Martin is white. She was found 9 months after her abduction. Alexa Patterson is black and still missing. 20 years ago, as police worked to locate the 2 girls, some advocated and experts argued that race was a key factor in how authorities reports handle their cases. It's marked the first time the national media pays serious attention to such disappearance. Alexis Patterson has been missing since 2002. Odds are you don't know her story. Anyone with information about Alexis Patterson is asked to contact the Milwaukee Police Department, and if you wish to remain anonymous, contact Crime Stoppers ad and press or use the PT3 Tips app. And that is the story of Alexa. This case, to me, is one of the hardest cases to talk about. Give me 1 second, y'all. I need you to turn it down. Because
all the way down?
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to agree with her mom. This case breaks my heart, because this case did not get the attention that Elizabeth Martin's case. I'm not saying nothing wrong. I'm just saying that these 2 cases should have gotten media attention, but they didn't. Elizabeth Smart, from the moment that the parents found out that she disappeared, FBI and detectives were already searching for her. When Alexa disappeared, it took FBI a few days to jump on the case. If you are this type of person that thinks race does not have nothing to do with it, I'm sorry, but you're the problem. Elizabeth Smart is home, safe, living her life. And when I heard that she was found, I was like, yo, miracles happen. Miracles happen. Like, I was so happy for her and her family. But Alexis' family still doesn't have answer. And why are y'all, the fact that these detectives are, oh well, if you take a lie detector test and we'll go and we'll go and take DNA to see if that's her. This is someone's child. This is someone's child. This is a mom that is suffering every single day, not knowing where her child is at. And you don't want to you don't want to fly to see if that woman that they think is her, Alexis, because she failed a lie detector test. That's your reason, because she did not want to take another lie detector. This is a child. Open your eyes. This is not a dog. This is a child. This mom she's been missing since 2002 and still no answer. And y'all want to see her and play the petty game? That's what y'all doing? You're playing with a mother's feeling. That mom needs answer. We all need answers. The community needs answers. And I know that it doesn't talk about it here, but it does happen too with Hispanic people. When it comes to African American and Hispanic people, they do not get missing children. They do not get as much as media coverage of white people. And the same thing with Hispanic people. Hispanic people, when they do have a missing child, they are scared to call the police because some of them are not, they're here, and they don't have papers. But it does not matter. Screw the color of the person. Screw what type, if they're from here or if they have papers or not. Focus on finding this child. Focus on the child. Stop looking at people's color of skin and of their background, and if they do drugs or they've been in prison or whatever it is. Stop looking at that. Stop looking at that, because that's not what we're supposed to be looking at. We're supposed to be trying to find this child. Forget everything else and focus on getting this child's home safe. And Alexis' mom watches this video, I'm so sorry, honey, that you're going through this. And I really hope that you get answers. I hope you and your family get answers that you deserve. Guys, if y'all live in that area and if y'all know something, no matter what it is, please say something. I will be putting the numbers in the description below. We need answers. This mom needs answer. I will see y'all next week.